Hello, everyone. My name is Lydia Maraca. I am a dietetic intern, and I've been here at Peoria Unified School District. So today I'm going to talk about vegetable subgroups and how those different colors pertain to different nutrients. So just a brief overview of what's going to be covered in this presentation is just briefly going over those National School Lunch Program subgroup requirements, why those various colors are important, and then hitting those subgroups of green, red, orange, yellow, and those beans and legumes. This slide just depicts the weekly offerings of those vegetable subgroup categories. So for those K through 8 schools, it's going to be half a cup, except for those red and orange subgroups. And then for high schools, it's a little more tricky. There's a half a cup for those dark green and starchy vegetables, 3/4 cups for that other subgroup, and then 1 1/4 cup for those red orange. This is just a chart of how the government breaks up those colors and those subgroups. So you can see here the dark green, red, orange, bees, peas, starchy, and other. I categorized the yellow as like that starchy group. And it's important to note that there are colors that might not fit a category. So there might be green vegetables like a cucumber, but it does not meet this subgroup. So when we think about the green, we're kind of thinking about our leafy, cruciferous kind of vegetables. I'm sure you've probably heard Sandra, Maddie, or Alicia. If you don't have the vegetable that's supposed to be served that day, what's an appropriate substitution? And substitutions are fine just as long as it matches. So, why the various colors are important? So, greater consumption of fruits and vegetables has a significant impact on your health. Plant-based foods contain more than one colorful pigment. This is related to the phytonutrients found in the food. Phytonutrients is kind of a big word, a new word. It is really just that chemical produced by the plant to stay healthy. So if you think about how the lemons are growing in Arizona, or you have lettuce or any other kind of herb or anything you're growing outside, it's sitting out in the sun all day. And so what studies have been doing is looking at, what is protecting that plant from getting damaged. And they've discovered these phytonutrients, which is also another word for a type of antioxidant. What is an antioxidant? Well, it prevents oxidative damage. So if you can kind of go with me and imagine, an oxygen molecule, and around that oxygen molecule, we have electrons, and it's really unstable. So we have a bunch of electrons flying everywhere and causing oxidative damage to the cells. But what antioxidants do is they anti the oxidant. So it's going to grab those free radicals, as some people call them, those electrons, and bloop, like put them in a home, and now it's stable, thus preventing damage to our cells. So some examples of these specific phytonutrients are the orange color, the orange hue is beta carotene. I think this one's kind of easy to remember for me because carrots are orange and beta carotene. The red hue, they've found that color to be represented with the phytonutrient lycopene. Green, there's chlorophyll and folates, sorry. And then purple is the flavonoids. I included purple, even though it's not a requirement of a subgroup in the National School Lunch Program, but just to kind of give you that idea that these are everywhere and they're in all colors. So dark green, we can associate dark green colors with heart health. These are high in nutrients like vitamin K, magnesium, and folate. A study had found that daily consumption of green leafy vegetables reduces cardiovascular disease by about 16%, which is pretty cool. So, to give you some examples of dark green vegetables, probably stating the obvious a little bit, but we have the arugula, broccoli, cilantro, kale, spinach, Swiss chard, and red. I like red. I don't know. It's kind of red produce is bright. It's jarring. It gets your attention, and red can be associated as anti-inflammatory. So red produce is high in nutrients like vitamin C and that antioxidant, like I mentioned before, the lycopene. Long-term inflammation is linked with cancer, cardiovasculars, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and more. So the red food, being that it's an anti-inflammatory properties, can help reduce the inflammation and boost your immune system. Examples of red include red bell peppers, tomatoes, pimentos, cherry peppers. Any kind of red fruit or vegetable will do, but not for the National School Lunch Program. It has to be that red vegetable subgroup. So, which brings me to the next color, orange. Orange is associated with reproductive health. It is high in nutrients like vitamin A and carotenoids. It has similar properties as those red colored foods in regard to like their antioxidant level and vitamin C levels. Oxidative stress is shown to be associated with infertility in both men and women. And specifically, like diving even further into those orange categories, we see that carrots were found to lower the rates of breast and prostate cancers, and orange fruits lowered the risk of endometriosis. And I think this is really important. While these are just kids, in school, fertility might not be the forefront of our mind, but I think with the uptick of cancers and endometriosis, it's definitely important to include this color as kids are growing and these are very formative years for them. Examples of orange vegetables are carrots, yams, squash, orange bell peppers, and pumpkin. Yellow is linked with digestion. It is high in nutrients like fiber, and there's insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. Soluble fiber dissolves in water and can be broken down by the large intestine. It forms a gel-like substance. So if you think about that Benefiber supplement, if you put it in water, you can stir it up and it'll dissolve, but it still kind of has that weird taste texture to it. Whereas insoluble fiber is not going to dissolve in water and it's not going to break down in our intestine. So, this is important because this serves as a prebiotic or as food for all the little microbes and gut bacteria that are living in our intestine. Soluble and insoluble fiber together, they slow down the release of simple carbohydrates in the bloodstream. So, in turn, this lowers our blood sugar. So, if you could think of maybe a simple carbohydrate like a candy, if we eat that, it's going to be digested more quickly and it's going to hit our bloodstream more quickly. But if we have something that's fibrous, there is that carbohydrate sugar component to it, but it's going to take a lot longer to digest and it's not going to hit our bloodstream as quickly. So it's going to give us a more steady blood sugar level. And as I mentioned, the indigestible fibers serve as prebiotic source for the gut microflora, your whole microbiome, lowers bloating, and those potatoes are high in vitamin C and a good source of B vitamins and potassium. Some examples of yellow include corn, potatoes, plantain, jicama, parsnips. The last category is beans and legumes. These are known to be anti-inflammatory. They're high in nutrients like protein, fiber, iron, zinc, folate, and magnesium. Phytochemicals protect against heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and inflammation. Examples of these include lentils, black-eyed peas, black beans, fava beans, garbanzo beans, and kidney beans and edamame. I think Peoria School District does a really good job of hitting this subgroup in a way that is approachable to kids. So now that we know the importance of these subgroups and these colors and the impacts that they can have on our health, how do we encourage kids to consume them? So, presentation can increase appeal and it gets kids interested. Variety can help increase consumption by not just providing the same thing day in and day out. And then, kind of moving outside the kitchen, um, is school gardens and cooking and nutrition education classes. There's a lot of studies that show if kids can get involved in the process, then they are more interested and they have a connection with it, and they're more likely to try these vegetables. And also promotional posters in the lunchroom. I included this picture here of this kind of fruit and veggie bar, and I liked how they had these little cartoon vegetable characters, and I thought that was cute. And lastly, what I found was a study looking at where vegetable bars were placed in a cafeteria line. And what they found was that if it was more convenient to the kids, then that increased their consumption. So their quote sale of vegetables increased by 18%. Well, now their sales, but the kids were still eating more of them, is kind of the point. So lastly, I just wanted to finish up with this video to kind of help you to see the importance of your job. Can't open. Okay, that's fine. So the point of the video was kids not being able to recognize fruits and vegetables. And every day when a kid comes through your line, they are getting that exposure to fruits and vegetables. And so your job is important and it's valuable, and you can have an impact on these kids' health by encouraging their consumption, helping them to explore new things. So keep calm and leave it to the lunch heroes.